Okay? So let's begin how to respond to the reviewer's comment. Okay, and perhaps we can call it also like how not to respond to the reviewer's comment, because if you are addressing the reviewer's comment, it's not only what you do. At the same time, we have to be careful not doing something. Okay, something is like not appreciated, not accepted. So it's like a kind of do and don't also. Now, the process is very common. Okay, very simple. That you submit. Can you see my slide transition? Okay, good. So the process is very simple. You submit a paper into a journal. So if the editor, associate editors, they are happy, you do not get this rejection. Okay, this rejection is kind of unfortunate, but in a sense, it's good. You get the decision very quickly. But imagine that you did not get this rejection, and the paper has been sent out for review. Usually, the very common practice is that the paper is reviewed by two reviewers, and sometimes in some journals there are 3 reviewers. So we have, for example, reviewer 1 and reviewer 2. Now, reviewer 1 and reviewer 2, they will evaluate your manuscript and they'll give a comment and they will recommend some decisions. And we have traditionally 4 major kind of decisions. It can be reject, it can be minor revision, it can be major revision, or it can be a straight accept. Okay. So the reviewer 1 and reviewer 2, they will give the comment and their decision also. Getting accept in the first round from both reviewer is very rare and a kind of miracle, that in the very first stage, both reviewers are saying that, okay, we accept the paper. It is very rare. Okay, but very common is that either both reviewers says major revisions, or one reviewer says major revision, one reviewer says minor revision, or both reviewers are saying minor, or it can be reject, or it can be a combination of reject and major, or reject or minor. Okay, different kind of combinations are possible. So the 2 reviewers, they are putting their comments down, and after that, it is going into the associate editor of the journal. The associate editor have a look into the manuscript, have a look into the reviewer's comment, and after that, the associate editor make the recommendations to the editor, and the editor makes the final decision. Either can go for reject and go for major revision. Okay. It depends on the personal assessment and also follow-up comments from different reviewers. Okay. So it is possible that one reviewer says reject, one reviewer says major revision, and after that, the associate editor and the editor can give a major revision. Although someone said reject, but they may not take that one. In some other cases, one reviewer says reject, one reviewer says major revision, but the associate editor may go with the rejection also. Okay. So this process is a kind of we don't know. It is like how those people are feeling. But imagine that you got the decision, you got the revision, and now you have to address to the reviewer's comment. Now you can imagine that you got a very strong review, major revision, or someone is so harsh, said reject, but someone says there are lots of comments on the major revision, and the associate editor and the editor, they have their own comments also. Now, how to address that? Okay. Now, there are so many techniques, so many suggestions, so many strategies for addressing the reviewer's comment. In today's session, we'd like to keep it short and simple. And I believe Dr. Isaac will join from time to time and will put his own comment also. And based on your questions and queries, we would love to add more. But the session today, the discussion today, we'd like to keep it within the suggestion recommended by Carnival 2019, published the column in the Elsevier website. They told that keep calm. You got the revision, keep calm, and we call it calm strategy. So what does the calm mean? C stands for comprehend, you understand. A for answer, L for live, and M for mindful. Calm. Now, what happened is that we academics, okay, we are working hard on a manuscript. We like nights and nights, okay, data collection, literature review, lots of effort, proof reading, and after that, we submit the manuscript. And imagine that now the reviewer is coming back and criticizing a lot of your points that this is not good, this is not good, I don't like this one, I don't like that one. And every time, okay, when I get it, I'm sure all of us, when we get it, we're like so upset. My God, how come my paper is so good? And those people are they're saying that this is bad, this is bad. Okay, we get angry. Okay, that we can accept it. This is very common. This is very common. So please calm down and absorb the comment. Take your time. So the very first one is comprehend. You understand what they are saying. Then you think what could be the answer. And after that, you address the comment on the list basis. Okay, you break down the comments. And when you submit, be mindful. Okay? What we mean by mindful? We mean that make the job easy for the editor, for the associate editor, for the reviewer. Okay, for example, you write a nice cover letter that yes, thank you for the opportunity of the for revising the paper. We have addressed that. This is our responses. This is the track changes, and this is the final version. Okay, we'll go through all of them. Okay. The first one is comprehend. So the moment you get the reviewer, okay, sometimes, okay, or most often, the reviewers make a kind of sandwich kind of comment. What they do, they put the good comments and the harsh comment in between. Okay, so in the beginning, when you read the reviewers comment, oh, this is a nice paper, fantastic paper, very timely topic, it has great implications. Then, but what is the but? But I have commented on this, and that moment you feel, oh my God, anger, frustration, and you literally you feel that no, I don't agree with that. That is very common. But our suggestion is control your emotion. Okay, don't take the comments personally. Remember that in the double-blinded peer review, the reviewers don't know who you are. So if they are criticizing anything, they are not criticizing you. They are criticizing your manuscript. And not necessarily they are correct. It's possible that in so many cases, we find that the reviewers, okay, maybe they did not pay attention, or maybe in the manuscript, we could not make it clear. So it is possible that the reviewers somehow, okay, missed something, some kind of misreading, misunderstanding. Okay, so keep calm and take time to address the comment. Now, my personal comment, I believe Dr. Isaac will agree also, because Dr. Isaac and I, we work a lot. We have been publishing together for last couple of years together, and we have this experience also. First time I read the comment, I understand something. Second time I'm reading, and I feel that, oh, maybe the reviewer is not looking for that. So if we are working in group, we have the co-authors. Every time we share the reviewer's comment, and after that, maybe after 2 days or 3 days, okay, or within a week, but we don't delay. Okay, we make the meeting within the first week. We sit together and we go comment by comment, every comment, individual comment, and we share what does it mean. Sometimes remember that everyone has different style of writing. Some reviewers, they have a kind of complex way of putting the comment. Some reviewers, maybe English is not their native language, or they're so good in English, so they write a sentence in such a way that it's difficult to understand. I mean, like, are they looking for that? Are they asking a question? I mean, like, very often, Isaac and myself, we get confused. Is it a comment or a statement? If it is a comment, question, we have to address that one. Okay, this is the question you asked, and this is our answer. But sometimes we're really confused that, okay, if this is a statement, what we can do? Yes, this is your personal opinion, we take it, no problem. But important is that you understand what the reviewers are saying. Okay? So sit down with your team, sit together, and make sure that you understand every single comment, one of the best techniques that I follow, I break down the comments, and the comments, those are very easy to address. So for example, the reviewer says that, oh, your methodology is really good. So what I say, I make it blue color and I say, thank you very much for your application. Okay. So this is very easy. The easy comment, I highlight them in the blue color. The difficult comment, either we have to revise the manuscript or we have to explain a lot. In such cases, we make them red color. Then the author team, we sit together and we decide how to address that, what could be our strategy to address that comment. And then we make the kind of, we do a kind of brainstorming and we note down what could be the potential answer for this comment. Okay, so this is number one: comprehend, understand the reviewers comment, because if you have misunderstanding on what the reviewers are saying, then it will be very complicated when you're responding to the comments. Okay, Dr. Isaac, you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Shimul when it comes to comprehending. I think the most important thing at this stage for me is to not take it personally as well, because I feel that many times when we do get comments, good, bad, in between, we tend to take it that it's a reflection on who we are and what we do. So I think that's a really important point, that we try to look at it objectively. We try to look at it that it's about the paper that I've written, and that hopefully the comments are more constructive rather than not. And always work with your co-authors. I mean, if you're a single author, then, if you could always share, I mean, you could always get, a colleague or someone to sit with you, it helps. But if you are co-authoring the paper, with 2, 3, 4 colleagues, it's always nice to share, have a collective idea of how you would approach the comments. Think about, what can be improved, how you're going to answer some comments, because like it or not, some comments are just there for the sake of saying some certain things, and we'll go through that in a bit. But the idea here is you work collectively so that you have a collective response, so that you don't feel like you're in this alone, if that makes any sense. Okay. But comprehend, keep your emotions in check, take time. I know a lot of authors, they tend to rush their submission or rush their revisions. So it's like we send the paper back to them for revisions. We get it the next day. I mean, being efficient is one thing. I love efficiency, but we often find that there is a lot of comments that are subpar, if not addressed the feedback. They have gone the shorter way around. So take your time. I mean, there is no rush. You usually get about 2, 3 weeks, sometimes even a bit longer. So take your time. It really shows that you've taken the time to address the comments and, really think it through. But yeah, that would be my takeaways for the first part of that strategy.
Sure. So thank you. So the moment you comprehend, now you decide that, okay, now we have to answer. Okay. Now, when you're answering, I mean, like, try to be nice. Okay, try to be nice, and the reviewers, they actually, like, we all review for the manuscript, and we all know that this is not a paid job. No one is paying us for reviewing the paper. So we sacrifice our time, we sacrifice our weekend, we sacrifice our energy. Then we are giving the comment to the authors. Now the reviewers spend their time and energy, and now I am responding to them. Please keep in mind that the reviewers are trying to help you with improving your manuscript. Okay. The reviewers are not criticizing you, but the reviewers, they want to improve the paper. Okay, so take it positively, and in your response in the beginning, please thank the reviewer. You can thank in the beginning also, like what I do, like for every comment I say, oh, thank you again, thank you very much for your insightful comment, thank you very much for your constructive comment, oh, thank you for pointing this out, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that. Okay, so thank the reviewer. Okay, that really shows your personality also. Okay, and the reviewers really appreciate that. Okay, now when you're responding to the comment, provide a specific response. Okay, be very specific. Don't be vague. Don't be in general. So, for example, the reviewer said that, oh, the motivation of this research is not clear. For example, okay, this is a very common comment. The motivation is not clear, or the research gaps are not clear, or what is the significance of this research is not clear. Now, what you can do, you can write a long paragraph why this research is important. Okay, but the question is, does it explain what the reviewer was looking for? Okay, now, I mean, like from our previous session, we know that, like, if you think about the research gap, if you think about justification of the research, if you think about significance of the research or importance of the research, usually in the introduction, we position that this research is really important. And also at the end, in the implication section, we write theoretically why this research is important, what are the contributions, practically, managerially, what are the contributions, and also methodologically. If we are using some new method, our data collection was so rigor, we argue that, okay. Now, if the reviewer is saying that, okay, what is the significance of this research? Rather than writing a long statement, what you can say, okay, thank you very much for this. Perhaps we could not make it clear in our previous version of the manuscript, but in our revised manuscript, we have specifically noted that in the introduction, we have argued that one, that why the research is important. What is the gap there? What are the significance, or what is the purpose of the research? Okay, and also in the implication section, we have shown that our research is contributing in 5 ways or 3 ways. Number 1, number 2, number 3. So you see, you are very specific, and then you highlight in the manuscript a different color, maybe blue color or green color, and you say that on page number 6 we have argued that, and you copy a bit and put it there. Okay, so you be very specific. Sometimes you will find that, like, the reviewer asks a kind of very general question, very general. Recently, we got a revision from a journal for one of our papers, and one of the comments from the reviewer was, what is the learning from literature? Now, in this paper, I have a review of literature for like about 3,000 word literature review, and the paper has been revised second time. And in the second time, the reviewer is asking, what is the learning from literature? So I was confused that learning from literature, should I explain in the paper what is the learning from literature, or should I explain separately? Okay. Then I realized that, okay, learning from literature, basically the reviewer perhaps is referring to the, what is the gap in the literature? Okay, what is missing? So what I did, I took a bit of my literature review, that, okay, under the literature review section, I have discussed this, I have discussed that, I have discussed this. I have reviewed the paper from 1994 to 2020 or 2021, and I found that this area is missing. Those are the research gaps. So my learning is that there has been a lot of work, but in my best understanding, okay, we always use the word in my best understanding. In some paper, people say that, oh, this is the best paper. There has, or this is the first paper. There has been no work. This kind of a statement, it really sells your paper, but we suggest, please be careful, because we may not know. Okay, in our database search, in our literature review search, we may not capture everything. Okay, so there might be some papers that have covered similar area. Okay, so rather than saying this is the first paper or there is no paper, we always try to say there are limited research in this area. Okay, and this is one of the first few papers in this area. So in this way, you can be very specific that what the reviewer is asking and how you're responding. Okay. Now, sometimes it is possible that you do not agree with the reviewer's comment. Okay. Remember that this is your paper. This is not the reviewer's paper, and you should write your paper the way you want. And the reviewer is there to help you. So don't get confused, or don't get scared that, oh my God, I have to listen to everything what the reviewer is saying. Because sometimes we will find that the reviewers are giving some comment, a nice comment, and if you read them for the first time, it sounds very legit, and you feel that, oh my God, why I didn't do this? Okay, I should have done this. But think, okay, talk to your co-authors, ask yourself, what is the scope of my research? What is the boundary of my research? Can I do something that is beyond my boundary? Okay. On many occasions, okay, very often, we find that some comments are really good, but problem is that is not within the scope of our research. So what do? We disagree. Okay, the reviewer said that, why don't you check this direct relationship? Why didn't you do the mediation? Why didn't you consider another kind of product category? Or why didn't you check, for example, consumer knowledge? Why didn't you check this and that? Okay, fine, nice comment. But the question is, are those questions relevant to my research objective? If not, we politely say that, oh, thank you very much for your comment. We really appreciate this. But with due respect with your comment, we would like to say that this one is beyond the scope of our research. But what we have done, we have taken your comment into consideration, and we have noted this in the future research. So in your manuscript, at the end, there is a section called limitations and future research. In the future research section, you can note that one. Okay. At the same time, it is possible that you might have done some mistakes. Okay, it can be typing error, it could be some reporting error. Okay, sometimes if you're reporting the beta value, t value, chi-square by degrees of freedom, there could be some typing error. Okay, very common. If you've done the mistake, just accept it. Okay, say that our sincere apology for the error, we have fixed it, and thank you very much for pointing this out. Okay? Accept it, no harm in accepting that. And if you're saying something, okay, if you disagree, and sometimes the reviewers are not right, okay, you have to accept that. Okay? Provide explanation why you think that you should do in this. Okay, we would like to share our one of the interesting or funny story that Dr. Isaac and myself, we had a paper. We submitted, actually one of our honors students worked on that. We submitted the paper into a journal, and for that project, we collected data from South Africa. And so in the methodology, we wrote that data were collected from South Africa. In the bracket, we wrote South African cities. In the bracket, we wrote Johannesburg and Durham. Okay. One reviewer did not realize that Johannesburg and Durham are the city in South Africa. The reviewer wrote that the publication year is missing for Johannesburg and Durham. Okay, so it was so funny that Johannesburg and Durham are not the author's name; they are the city. But we understand that the reviewer did not pay attention. Okay. Now, problem is we cannot say that, hey, you don't know Johannesburg and Durham are the city in South Africa. Okay, we can say this, but what it is funny. But what I did. Oh, we are sorry that we are not clear on the statement. We have revised the statement, rewritten the statement for a clarity that Johannesburg and Durham are the city in South Africa. So what we did, now within the bracket, the city named Johannesburg and Durham. Okay. So it's possible that the reviewer may oversight something, but you provide explanation why you are writing in that way. Okay. So that is when you are answering the reviewer's comment. Yeah. Dr. Isaac, you want to add something?
Thank you, Shimo. I think what I'll do is I'll probably answer Aaron's question. So Aaron has dropped a question in the chat box for us, and he's wanting to know that he says that rebuttal is obviously an art, but what do we do when a reviewer attacks you in unusual areas, like challenging your methods, or why would you write it in a certain way? And I feel like, Aaron, I can understand where you're coming from. It's not unusual that these things do happen. But I think what I want to encourage you is that think about the value of the comment that you're getting first, right? Because there are comments that will come through that are unusual. They are there just to as generic comments. So they might say, things like, I don't think that you've done enough here, or I don't think that your methodology is up to scratch. I think this is the lit review hasn't incorporated these things, or I don't see the value, I don't see the contribution, et cetera, et cetera. Now, these comments are always, they tend to be very broad, and they don't give you room to, I guess, improve, or they don't give you room to adjust. And comments like that, I feel sometimes you have to take it, like I said, on value. So, and the way you respond, I think, is the key, right? So even though if it's an attack, so to speak, or if it's an unreasonable comment, something that's not constructive, think about how you can go about suggesting what you may have already done. So bear in mind, we don't have perfect reviewers. You know, there's some that are really good, some that are very, very subpar, you know, and that goes back to the decision of an editor or associate in terms of who we pick for whatever reason. But coming back to this, when you do answer, we always say take sort of the higher road. So always thank the reviewer for the comment, good, bad, even if it doesn't make sense, right? And then give your position on the comment, right? If your study has a good enough methodology, for example, and the comment is about your methodology, well, then reinforce it. Say, well, look, you know, in this research, this is our research design. We did this, and, you know, follow up, we did that. And this is how we, you know, came about at the discussion, and this is what we concluded, right? So a lot of it is, again, having a position on what the comment is, and again, trying to assess the value of the comment first off, and then, you know, respond in a way that I feel that is not intrusive as well, right? You know, a lot of times most of the times I feel like we do see very good exchange, right? So it's constructive comments and we give a constructive reply. So that's really how things go. We do see certain times whereby authors would be very condescending, or they'll be very rude with their comments, and it's not a good look for you, or it's not a good look for anybody, and vice versa. You know, sometimes reviewers comments are you know, you just can't make out what's happening. But if you, like I said, if you come in and you take the high road, you assess the value and you respond in a manner that, you know, is constructive, I think you'll be okay, right? So I think it's a matter of, you know, with the two strategies that we talked about early on, you know, comprehending and answering, you know, think about how you can, I guess, navigate the situation so that you don't, I guess, in lack of a better term, you don't make the reviewers angry, so to speak. But at the same time, think of it as you're also trying to tell them about what you've done. Give them an opportunity to say, well, on page 6, paragraph 3, this is what we wrote, and I think this is a response to your comment. You'll find that over a period of time, one of the things is that you get used to nasty comments coming through. It's just a matter of when you publish long enough, you tend to go, well, okay, I see where this person's coming from, or I understand what he's trying to say, or, you know, maybe this is the way that I would have to answer. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of closure. I don't know if it answers your question totally, but just know that we all face the same things, and I can completely relate with you. Okay, I know Frank has one question, so I'll take Aaron's follow-up question and I'll pass it back to Shimul to answer Frank's question. So Aaron's basically saying he's curious as to why these instances have been more frequent in recent times. Look, it's hard for me to say, but as an editor, one of the reasons I am just inferring at the moment, so don't quote me on this, is that I think, you know, because of the whole COVID period, it's been a lot harder to get reviewers, at least from the journals that I have worked with, or at least from the journals that I review for as well. And that may have been one of the reasons why, you know, they're very snappy, but that, you know, it's no reason for that. You know, they have the same amount of review time. We don't shortchange them on anything, so there's no really excuse. But if that was the reason, that would be it. Hopefully that helps. Shimul, would you want to take Frank's question? I think.
Yeah, sure. So Frank asking like, but one review my content analysis, reason this, compare this. So, but I admit there might be interesting result for the company, so I put it. I think Frank who put a kind of statement, and I agree. It's a good strategy, because this is the problem. Okay, this is your research, and you know the best what you have done. And for example, like even for the COVID, there have been lots of COVID paper in the last 2 years. Now, sometimes the reviewer asks like, okay, fine, you compare with what was the first situation, and you're saying that something happening during COVID, but is it the case that this is really happening due to COVID? But for the first condition, in that case, because we cannot go back to the first condition to see what happened prior to COVID, and the data I have, the situation I have in my hand, there's no way I can compare that with the past. But perhaps what we can do, we can refer to the empirical studies. What other people found in the past studies? What are the common understanding in the past studies? So, for example, like there have been lots of papers that are arguing that consumers' anxiety, consumers' loneliness, consumers' empathy have changed during the pandemic. And one of the common, like that is very common in the popular press also, that online shopping has gone really up. With all those panic buying, of course, the uncertainty, perceived uncertainty has gone up. So now, if someone asks me that consumers' anxiety, perceived uncertainty, are they changing due to pandemic? Can you compare with the past? The problem is, for my research, I didn't collect data prior to COVID, and I didn't know that COVID will come in. And I collect data now, I can compare. Okay. And if I ask people that, hey, are you feeling the same way before you have been feeling before? I mean, like you have been feeling before COVID. This is the problem with the self-reported responses. There will be some social visibility bias. There will be some cognitive bias. Okay, so biases will be there. But for me, the way I see it, arguing in terms of the empirical findings from the past, and also referring to the popular press, what is happening, industry report also. Okay, that might help. Yeah, and there is one more comment. Okay. Thank you. With Aaron's question, I feel that as an editor and associate editor, Dr. Isaac and myself, we always have this issue that sometimes we find that some reviewers are difficult to make them happy, and we notice that the authors, they are revising the paper again and again and again, and the reviewer is sticking to one or two comments that they don't want to switch from there. Now, I feel that at that situation, the associate editor and the editor, they have some role to play. Okay, because sometimes the associate editor, we see that the reviewer is working a lot, but the author is working a lot, but the reviewer is picking one or 2 points, and it is so difficult for the author to address that one. And we understand that this is not within the capacity of the author also. Now, as an editor, associate editor, what we can do, we can jump in there and we can decide from our side that yes, the reviewer is not happy, and it happened so many times. The reviewer is not still happy, but we give the decision that okay, you go with the minor revision. You don't need to address that one. And sometime in the cover letter that I'll be talking briefly, in the cover letter, we notice that the authors are writing that, hey, you see, reviewer one is asking me again and again to do this, but I feel that that is not doable. And the reviewer is not convinced with my response. Now, I want to address your attention or attract your attention on this part. Now, at that moment, the editor and associate editor, really, they have to play some role there. Okay? Because if the situation is so tough between the reviewers, and I agree, sometimes the reviewers are there so harsh, sometimes they may not be rude actually, but maybe the language. Okay, and we also need to understand that the reviewers, they have their own life, they have their own job, they have their own publications, they have their own family, they have their weekend, and now they are reviewing the comment. And personally, even when I review the paper, I ask myself, does my review depend on my personal mood also? That's how I'm feeling on that day. So maybe I had a very bad day. Okay, now I'm reviewing a paper. What happened? Okay, maybe my comment will not be very nice. Okay, so it depends. It depends, but we have to accept all of those. And I really appreciate Aaron's questions. Okay, and Frank's input also. That if the reviewer is so angry, it's so difficult. Perhaps one of the option is involve the editor and associate editor. Okay, in the cover letter, because cover letter is only for the editor and associate editor. Cover letter does not go into a reviewer. So you can attract the attention of the editor and associate editor that this is the situation and what we can do. All good? Okay, now we move to the next one is list the comment. Okay, now if you get the reviewers, you will find that people make the comment in so many different ways. Okay? For example, like in the revision has been on the Scholar one manuscript central, they have some category questions. What about the purpose? What about the objective? What about the methodology? And people give comment in every specific sections. Okay. In editorial manager, there is a one single box and people write comment there. Even when the reviewers are writing comment, you'll notice that sometimes they make bullet point, sometimes they make numbering, number 1, number 2, number 3, and in so many occasions they make it paragraph format. Okay? Now, one good technique is that you break it down. Okay, you break it down. You break it down with the comment number. So every single comment, you feel that this is an independent comment. You make it, for example, reviewer 1, comment 1. Just highlight that. Then comment number 2, comment number 3, comment number 4, comment number 5. So this makes your job easy. That there have been, it is one paragraph, but the moment you break it down, it becomes 20 comments. Now you address the 20 comments separately. It makes your job easy. At the same time, the reviewers, the editors, associate editor, they can also see that, okay, fine. Now I see what you are referring to, what you're answering. And also, this gives you the chance to be specific. That sometimes in one sentence, there are maybe 2 comments. In one sentence, they ask you 2 questions. What you can do, you can break it down. Okay, first, then second, then you can answer. And so in the Word doc, you're breaking down the comments and you're answering that. And for the question or comment 1, you can make it maybe red color, your response maybe blue color. So make sure that visually it's easy to read. Okay, so use the different color to highlight. Okay, now when you submit the revised manuscript, so you need to upload your revised manuscript. You need to upload the responses to the reviewer's comment, the separate file, the individual file. Now, in so many journals, they don't ask you. Okay? They just say that be specific and respond to all of them. Some journals I found, for example, is Springer Journal. Okay? For example, Journal of Brand Management. They always ask that when you submit the response to reviewer, make a table, and in the left side, put the comment, and in the right side, your response. Okay, the tabular format. So please check the journal guideline to the author and in which way you'll be doing it. But the good technique is you break down the comments and then you answer. After that, you can do it in either way. Next, if you are giving the responses, please try to avoid yes, no answer. Okay? Don't say yes or don't say no or don't say like answered or don't say, oh, fix in a manuscript. Don't say in these ways because your manuscript is 30 or 40 pages long and I'm the reviewer and you tell me that like, oh, I fixed this in the manuscript. Where? Oh, I don't know. So for example, the reviewer says that for hypothesis number 3, the theoretical underpinning is very weak. Or what theory explain your hypothesis number 3? So what you did in the manuscript, you improve that section. Before the hypothesis 3, you incorporate the theory, you include the empirical findings, and you show that how this relationship is built on some particular theory, okay, theoretical foundations. So you have done it in the manuscript and you highlight in the response to reviewer file, you say that, oh, thank you very much for your comment. We have taken your comment into consideration. We have revised the section. In particular, for the hypothesis 3, we have argued that then, quote unquote, you can copy something from your manuscript and quote unquote you put the ending there and say that, for example, on page number 6, line number 22, or page number 6, paragraph 2, we have highlighted it. So that when the reviewer is reading your comment, they can go back into your manuscript and can see that, okay, fine, this was my comment. The hypothesis was not strong. The theoretical underpinning was missing. Now I see that in the manuscript, the author has addressed that. Okay? So rather than saying fixed in the manuscript, address, oh, we have done it, thank you. This is not enough. Okay? Just say how you have done it. Okay? Make the job easy for the reviewer. Okay? And the final one for the comment strategy is that you have done everything. Now be mindful. Be mindful about what we mean by be mindful. Number 1, write a nice and polite cover letter. In the cover letter, thank the editor and the associate editor for giving the opportunity to revise the manuscript, and be specific that we have addressed all the comments. If you feel that there are one or two comments that you did not address and you believe that those are beyond the scope of your research, feel free to highlight that one also. Okay. So when the editor will be reading the reviewer's comment next time, the editor will keep it in the mind. Or even like in the next round or the following round, you can remind the editor that, hey, you remember that we have mentioned this in the previous round, that this comment is beyond our list. Okay. So beyond our capacity. So that is the kind of showing that you're conscious what the reviewer said, and you are logical, and you justify what you are addressing in your comment. Okay. So list of responses that we have discussed in the previous slide also. Make sure that you do it in a listed way. And track change is really important. Now, for the track change, there are some misunderstanding and confusion. So many authors, they feel that by track change, it means that you change the track in the Microsoft Word, MS Word track changing, which is really nice. In particular, if you're working in a team, you know what your co-authors did, which sentence was deleted, which sentence was changed, you can see. But if you're submitting a manuscript with that kind of track change in MS Word, it is so complex, so difficult for the reviewer to follow this up. Okay? And after that, like when the reviewer is reading, lots of comments there, track changes there. And also don't forget that when you're doing the track changes, depending on the registration of the Microsoft Word, okay, they can see the name, because in track change, the name is always there. So for example, when I'm changing something, it's the Shimul changing. When Dr. Isaac is changing something, his name is there. So in that way, your manuscript is not anonymous anymore. Okay, so be careful about that one. With the track change, the best one is you change the sentence, you change the section, you highlight this in the different color. Okay, either the text color could be different, or highlight could be different. At the same time, some journals, they also encourage submitting a clean version, that this is the edited or revised version, but there is no highlight. So you submit two versions. One is with the track changes, with the highlight, the other one the clean version. But again, it depends on the journal's expectation. Okay, what journal is looking for. Okay. So we have that come, okay, comprehend, answer, list, and be mindful. But if we take together, kind of like summarize everything, for what are the key issues? Number one, take some time to read the comment, understand that. Okay. Be concise, be specific. Don't take an argumentative tone. Okay. Don't fight with the reviewer. You are not going to win anything by fighting with the reviewer, but try to convince them. Okay. Do answer all questions. Sometimes some authors have the tendency to delete one or two comments, which is very risky, and we believe a kind of unethical practice also, because the reviewers get the comment and you are not addressing them. If you don't address, just say that we believe this is not addressable. Be honest. Okay. Structure your response in a systematic way. Try to cite as many papers as you can. So for example, like even on the author's response, you can say that, oh, this one is not possible because, or we have done in this way, because some of the people that they had a similar method. Okay. So for example, like in the experimental design, using the vignette, using the images. Okay. Some reviewer may ask that why you're using the vignette, why you didn't use the video. So you have some references published in Journal of Consumer Research that vignette is really good. Then you can cite that one, even within your references, not in the manuscript. Okay? It's possible. And don't question the reviewer's credential. You don't know who they are. The reviewer could be someone very big shot. The reviewer could be editor for another journal. The reviewer could be someone in the early career researcher. Even the reviewer could be someone very early in the PhD stage. Okay, so doesn't matter what is their credential. You respect the reviewer's comment, and you try to be nice and polite. Just show that this is our work and we have done in this way. And also at the end, thank the reviewer and thank that, like, oh, thank you very much for all the comments. We have addressed all the comments with our best capacity. We believe that your comments helped us in improving the manuscript. And if you have any further comment or queries, we'll be happy to address more. Okay, so thank you very much. So, and close with a nice gesture. Okay, yeah, Dr. Isaac, you want to add something on the last few slides? Yeah.
I completely agree with Shimo. I think Shimo has really given an overall run. I think I think the main things I think that taken together in summary, I feel that is to just understand where your position is when you always go into reviewing. Work collectively if you have other authors with you. I think that always helps. Consider, I think, both points of view, your point of view, their point of view, and think about how you want to structure your comments, your feedback. And as you go through the process, hopefully, after a couple more reviews, after you've gone through a few submissions, you get used to the type of comments that come through. Then it'll be, I guess, a lot fluid when you start replying to different reviewers' comments. In fact, you might already know as soon as the reviewers' comments come in how you're going to reply to certain things. So some of you here, I believe, are seasoned researchers. You've submitted to multiple journals before. You've already quite familiar with this process. Some of you not so much. But I think as you go through, and I think it is always a work in progress, you'll find more or less different ways to sort of, I guess, overcome some of the challenges you have with this as well. So yeah, I hopefully this part of the session today gave you guys a little bit of insight, gave you guys a little bit of something to think about, especially if you're going through a respond to reviewers at the moment. But we're happy to take questions as well. Okay, so if that's okay with everybody, I think so. That's kind of the first half of sort of the section done. The next part of the session is that I thought I want to give a little bit of a sort of a formal introduction to the journal that I am very lucky to be managing. But more importantly for you guys, I had the opportunity to speak to Dr. Lenny and to Professor Hiram, and I would love to extend an opportunity for this batch of SEARA members to submit their articles to this particular journal that I manage, and to give you a sort of quick run through of who we are, what we do, and perhaps how you can get involved as well, if you guys are keen. So who we are, we're a official journal that is managed by the Korean Scholars of Marketing Science. So they've been around for a very long time, and a lot of the scholars and academics from that region, so Southeast Asia region, and obviously further up as well. So there is a lot of focus in terms of the work that's done in that particular area. So, we get a lot of, I guess, scholars from China, from Japan and Korea, Thailand, sort of sits very well with, again, the positioning of SEARA. So some of you may potentially be looking at articles submitted to this journal to get exposure within that particular region. Recently, we're also garnering a lot of attention from the US and Europe. So we're getting a lot of scholars coming in to sit for that particular conference and also to publish within this journal as well. So it's a nice multidisciplinary platform for anyone who wishes to sort of showcase their work. What articles do we publish? Now, we publish a wide range of articles, from conceptual papers to practitioner papers to extended lit review or systematic lit reviews. But what we're really trying to do here with this platform is to encourage cross-cultural research, right? So we want to understand what people in different countries view or think about different types of, say, consumer behaviors, different ways of communicating with other people on a particular phenomenon, maybe be something to do with COVID, something to do with, sustainability. What we want to do is to share different opinions from different countries. So cross-cultural research for this particular journal is something that we place emphasis on as well. So we're ESCI ranked, we're in the ABDC B list at the moment. And my hope is within my tenure at the journal is to hopefully move these rankings up by obviously, getting papers in that are going to be quality papers, and also making sure that, they have good readership as well. So we don't want your paper to just be read one time or two times. We want it to be read multiple times, cited, and passed on as well. So that's my goal as the editor. In terms of the review process, again, very similar to what Shimu was saying early on, what we have is the editor-in-chief, so that's myself, the associate editors, and so on. So normally with the editor-in-chief role, I get papers from my managing editors. So there will already be a sort of a vetting process starting before the papers come to me, right? So always make sure that if you're submitting to any journal, make sure that you have your guidelines followed, right? So formatting, layout, because if that isn't that done right, then it doesn't come to me. The managing editor might recontact the authors and say, well, look, your font size is not right. You're over the word limit, something like that. When the paper comes to me, I do a quick assessment. Does it fall in line with perhaps what journal is all about? Does it hold value for it to be sent out for review? All these sort of things, a very brief assessment. And most of the time, I send them out for review because I feel like everyone who has put in an effort to write a paper and submit it to the journal warrants a review, no matter how good or bad it is. That's not up for me to judge at this stage. The associate editor would then assign 2 to 3 reviewers. Normally, we try to get 3 reviewers so that you get a breadth of reviews, and we pick reviewers selectively because, let's say, for example, if your topic is about health, we want to find someone within that discipline to be able to give you the comments that you need. We won't find someone that talks about logistics because it's completely different. When they come back with their reviews, the associate editor makes a call, right? So whether the associate editor will sort of move on to further revisions, whether they reject the paper, they make a call. Whatever call they make, if it does get rejected, it comes back to me to make the final decision either way. If it goes through 2 or 3 rounds of revisions, it will still come back to me to make the final decision as well, right? So I guess the process here is to say that it's a very detailed process. Your paper does go through a couple of different eyes, so it's not biased, and not one person says that it will go through or it won't go through. All right, so hopefully that that gives you a bit of an idea. Why papers are rejected, from my perspective, I think these are the things that we've talked about in our first session, and I think these are the things that you would implement on a daily basis when you write your papers as well. But more recently, what we're seeing is that their papers are rejected because they're lack of relevance, right? So again, think about, like I said, always think about the journal that you're writing for. If it's a psychology journal, if it's a health journal, or if it's something like our journal, think about what topic is relevant and how can you show relevance within your manuscript. We're getting papers sometimes that have unclear research questions, scope, or narrative. So when we read the paper and we don't know exactly what your story is, it makes it very difficult for us to say, well, this is something that we want to accept. Remember, our goal is to move papers so that people read them and they understand them, okay? So make sure that your research questions or questions are very clear. Whether they're multiple, single, it doesn't matter, but make sure you articulate them, make sure that your scope is clear as well, so that we know that, okay, so Frank's paper is about this, right? Nuru's paper is about, this topic, and she's documented that through. It makes it easier for the reviewers, makes it easier for me and everyone else. Poor communication. Now, poor communication is not to say that it's unavoidable, right? We all write, and sometimes it's hard to edit as you go, but make sure that you always proofread your paper, and don't just do it yourself. If you're submitting, it's always worthwhile to get a colleague or get a professional proofreader to do it for you. You'll find that it saves you a lot of hassles down the track, because reviewers tend to go, well, this is not proofread, and they find one typo and they will say your entire paper is not proofread, and that's not true, right? So if you're able to get a professional proofreader, you could say, well, it's professionally proofread, and we really appreciate the efforts that authors go through to proofread their work. It's incredible what you can do when you show that you've actually proofread your work. It makes a lot of difference. Plagiarism, violation of research ethics. It's a common I guess understanding that we don't plagiarize, and obviously we do our due diligence, make sure we get proper ethics approval. If your research is funded, make sure, especially when it's funded, make sure you get the right approval from different parties to make sure that your work can be published. It's just that some companies, especially, they're not really too interested. Make sure that you fill out the proper documentations as well, so copyright forms, all that kind of stuff. All right. Little or no contribution is probably one of the most popular comments that reviewers will give. So don't give them a reason to tell you that this is the reason why your paper should be rejected. Always clearly state what your contributions are, right? If it's contribution to our original research, tell me what is it. be very clear, right? And the last but not least is the poor response to reviewers as well. So again, this is why we're going through what we're going through. And trust me when I do say that we do get back response to reviewers that are very nasty sometimes. And I can understand that it's it's a whether it's an ego thing or a pride thing, or whether take your time, because it's part of your process to get your paper accepted or to get your paper published, is being able to respond to the reviewers. Okay, so these are just a few things. Now, looking forward for our journal in particular, these are some of the things that we want to see, because like I said, one of our goals is to make sure that we publish quality papers. We make sure that our papers get highly cited so that it's more or less shared and passed around, because that benefits the authors as well. And that helps us to improve in our rankings, so to speak, and obviously reach a wider audience. Now, we're cautious about special issues. Now, I'm sure most of you guys would know what a special issue is. It's basically an issue that we dedicate to a special area. So it might be tourism during COVID, for example. It's a very broad topic, but it's a special issue, right? We're cautious of special issues because I guess from our point of view, we're at this time, we're open for people to come to us and say, look, hey, Isaac or Shimol, me and my colleagues are very keen to do a special issue for you. We fill out here is our proposal. Would you consider that? And I absolutely would. But where we're cautious about is to understand that, certain people will have to have certain expertise. So let's say, for example, I'm using Frank as an example. So Frank's research is about, just to say, it's about, innovation in tech, let's say, right? But Frank wants to do something in medical science, all right? It's not in his profession, and I would normally question that, so if he wants to put in a special issue for something that's out of his scope, I would usually say, well, where's that expertise? Unless Frank could come with 2 or 3 other co-authors that are medical specialists, then it's a different question, right? So we're cautious about who runs them. We're cautious about who our guest editors are, what topics as well, because it has to sort of sit within, I guess, our time frame. So the last couple of special issues have been about personal sales. So I wouldn't be too keen on having a new special issue about, anything to do with sales, maybe something else, for example. We like multiple studies. Multiple studies basically gives us more breadth. We're not saying that you should have multiple studies for all your papers, right? Sometimes think about how appropriate your methodology is to answering your research question. Maybe 1 study is all you need. Doesn't mean it's a bad paper. Where we encourage multiple studies is where we encourage you to broaden your scope, to really look at, perhaps when you have 2 or 3 research questions, how can you draw more narrative to it? How can you provide a more in-depth analysis? So you might do, say, both qual and quant analysis within the paper, which gives you a lot to contribute, right? So qual, you might explore a phenomenon, then you might validate it using a quant. It's doable. It is a longer period of time, but I think we appreciate those studies a lot more because there's more to give, and that's kind of what we want. We like highlights. They're optional, but we encourage them just because it's easy for us as a journal to tell people that, Nurul's paper was about this. She gave us 4 or 3 things that highlighted what her paper is about. It's easy for us to say that, as opposed to an abstract that's just an abstract, right? And we encourage new methodology as well. So new methodology like psychophysiological measures, social media analytics, ethnography, and all that good stuff. We're not saying that we're adverse to your very traditional SEM, PLS, regression analysis, all that kind of stuff. But new methodology means new ways of validating perhaps results and findings, and it always is very refreshing for us as the editor and obviously associates and reviewers when these things do come through, because it's interesting and we want people to read about it and we want people to be able to replicate or extend on your work and so on. So these are some of the things that we look forward to when you do sort of publish with us. And like I said, I am very happy to extend this invitation to all of you, all the SEARA members, especially from this batch. If you're looking to publish with us, let me know so that we can take this as more of an invited paper so it'll be overseen by myself and Shimu, and that would mean sort of a quicker review process, and hopefully us giving you feedback would ensure that it's a quality paper that gets through timely as well. So I haven't actually given a deadline to Hiram, but if you're wanting to take up this opportunity, we're looking at June, end of June as sort of the cutoff date. So if you have a paper in the works or you've got some ideas, you have at least a good 5 to 6 months to really put that together. And we're very happy to help you guys with it as well. All right. If you have any questions, we can actually, answer them. But this is just a formal sort of invitation from myself and from Shimul. If you're wishing to publish with us, there is definitely more information that you can find on the journal website, which I'll pop in the chat box below. So then, you guys will have a better idea of what we do. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Isaac. Thank you also, Dr. Shimo, and thanks for the very useful strategies for responding the reviewers. And somehow I also feel very, very stressful and depressed about how to respond them. They give, as Lenny said, they give some very hard to break, the reviews, and I feel very crazy about it. I feel very, sometimes I even got assuming about how to respond them, why they're very tricky or something else. Thank you so much for the strategies. And I think I think Dr. Shimo has responded our questions in our chat box. And the next session, I think we're going to go to the feedbacks on our papers, the submitted 3 papers.
I'm sorry, Frank. We have a question from Ivy on the chat box.
Okay. Let me see. One question from Ivy, right? See, in fact, and I think they have.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I think it was addressed by Dr. Shimu already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
Okay, thank you.
It's
Thank you
very
so much.
common that the papers are sitting for a long time. Don't worry. The only problem is the reviewers, they have lots of paper to handle. And from our experience, we can tell you that you can't imagine how many reviewers, they agree to review, but they don't get back. Okay. I don't know why they agree to review, but some of them, they ask for extension. And can you imagine that we give them, for example, like 1 month, which is very common. Okay, even this morning I got one review invitation also. So people agree to review the paper for 1 month, and they have their busy life. Okay, fine, ask for extension. Okay, no problem. But sometimes the reviewers, they forget. We send them reminding email, they don't get back. Okay. The unfortunate part is they ask for extension. That's why I have my teaching load, this load, and you see we are not paying them. We can scold them. We can't be angry with them. Okay, they're actually helping us. And after 3 months or 4 months, they get back with 1 or 2 liners comment. And that comment we cannot send to the authors because those comments are not helping the authors. Okay, and that is the kind of our face also, the reputation of the journal also. So what do? We have to find another reviewer. And imagine that again, finding another reviewer who is going to agree in some 2 or 3 weeks time, and will take another 1 month to get back. Okay, so if your paper is sitting there, don't get upset, don't get anxiety, have patience. And but if you think that it has been a significant time, for example, personally, I don't change the editor within the first 3 months. Okay, I wait. I have the confidence that they'll get back to us. After 3 months, I don't ask them, hey, where is my paper? Where is the review? I don't ask in this way. Usually we ask like, hey, I've been curious. Do you have any update on this? I understand that the editorial team is so busy. The reviewers might be busy also. I'm just keeping track of my papers, and I would appreciate if you let me know if there will be any update very soon. Okay. Sometimes it is possible. Sometimes there might be some technical glitch also in the system. The reviewer is not getting any reminding email. Okay, so the paper is sitting there, and the notification is not coming to the editor also. It happens on so many occasions. In particular, the journals that are using manuscript central, we have this kind of experience a lot of time. The paper is overdue, but as an associate editor, I'm not getting any reminder. The editor is not getting any reminder, and the author is waiting for like 6 or 8 months. Okay, so you don't have to wait for 6 or 8 months. See 3 months, 4 months, and after that, write a nice email that, hey, I'm just curious. Okay, I'm not chasing, I'm just curious. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Shimo. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think now, let me stop sharing.